right, everybody, it's that time of the week again, bitch. That's right. Welcome to another sassy episode of Old School New SKool Comedy Podcast. And I am your host, Christy Miller. And God, on the show this week is a really special person. We met quite a few years ago, but we really didn't start bonding until recently because we're, as comics, as you get older and you get your career starts developing, everybody kind of goes down their own path and you kind of get taken away from certain circles. Like it changes as you elevate yourself. And this week, this woman, she was on the groundbreaking special on Showtime called Funny Women of a Certain Age, the first one. And she just filmed her dry bar special and she tours and entertains our troops with her clothes on a regular. I love her to death. She's super funny. She's a legend. And I'm honored to have her on my show, Miss Vanessa Hollingshead.
Well, thank you very much for that opening. That made me feel good because with the hashtag #MeToo, no one gives you compliments anymore.
I know.
It's nice. It's nice to get a compliment.
When it comes to harassment, I go, hashtag #MeToo, please help me.
I know.
Make me feel pretty.
Yeah, I don't. The guys, the construction workers used to, they'd stop drilling and, give you a whistle and say, hey, baby, drill this bit, and nothing. They just keep drilling now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they might be gay because everyone in my neighborhood's gay, so they might be.
And also, all the hot guys are gay because they're all at the gym.
They're all gay, yeah.
At least at my gym, they're all hot and gay.
Every hot guy I look at, I'm like, gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gay until proven straight was my old motto.
Yeah, and then if they are straight, you just wonder about them.
You're like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
When is he coming out of the closet?
Right.
and T minus 10, 9. But you've had one hell of a career. And this place here, we broadcast live at the comic strip here in New York City, one of the oldest clubs standing because, Rodney's is taken over. Well, Dangerfield's closed and now it's Rodney's.
Rodney's
so now,
place,
I think the comic strip had Dangerfield's whacked, if you know what I'm saying. Forget about it, how you doing? Like old school mob style.
Yeah.
So they could be the oldest running queens on the planet.
Well, COVID didn't hurt. COVID helped.
Well, Dangerfield's was the Titanic, before COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, Chario with his 3 teeth and 96 years old, still waiting tables.
Still waiting tables.
Still thought it was 1975.
The club looked like it was from 1975. You looked at it and it was like something like a cross between Goodfellas and the opening scene of The Shining.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And with all the dead bodies.
With all the dead bodies, yeah.
But I loved I missed Chario. Like he
it had an ambiance to it.
Yeah, Chario added that air of history and kept it alive all those years because no one else did. Tony just stayed down like the crypt keeper in his office. And
And Chario would be honest. He'd be like, you want the Harvey Bristol cream? It's $16. I'm like, what? It's a lot of money. Well, what about, can I get a Diet Coke?
It's $16.
Okay, now I'll get the Harvey's Bristol cream.
Fuck it, I don't drink, but I am now. I'm getting my money's worth, bitch. But Chario, I remember at one point at Dangerfield's, the comics got really abusive to the bar. They used to let us help ourselves to soda to not bother the bartender. Yeah. And then at one point they roped it off and no comics were allowed back there. And Chario goes, get away, only Christy could go behind there, nobody else. Because
he let me go. You go.
Because we're respectful.
Yeah, we're very respectful. And I just used to have, I didn't drink, I just had the soda.
I just drink ginger ale.
I had diet and club.
Yeah. That was our thing. I miss that place. But you, Miss Thing, have a long history with this place.
Yeah, this was my home. I remember this was my home club, and Lucien Hold was my husband, and I'm still, technically, I haven't remarried, so I'm still the widow. Still the widow.
Work it, girl.
I'm working it. And I just look at this club, and just so many memories come flooding back here, and I remember I wanted to work here so badly, and I waited a year before I auditioned, and I was in the office with Lucien for about an hour, and Michelle Ballin was with me. And I was in there for so long. And, he didn't pass me. He's like, I need you. You did a lot of characters, which is fine. But I need you to do some, other things like talk to the crowd. And I was like, well, I'm an actress. I do different characters because, well, yes, but this is comedy. And I said, I'm going to have you come back in 2 weeks. We'll see how you fare. And this was, Anthony goes, and you're like Susie Essman, who I have, no offense. And, you're working class, which is, I guess, good. I mean, the guy made too much sense.
And you married him.
And then I married him, of course. Yeah. Because he kicked off my parent issues big time. And then Michelle, when I came out an hour later, Michelle's like, I thought you were blowing him back there. I didn't know what you were going to do to get past at that club. And I said, no, I didn't. But then you did. Time, yeah, then I did. Yeah, definitely. And then we started, dating, and we, made up and broke. It was like Eliza Doolittle and Professor Higgins, us together. And he was one of the I'll never forget, after he passed away, he believed in me, and I didn't believe in myself. And then as he got sicker, I began to protect him.
Right.
But it was the
roles reversed. Yes.
But I really couldn't handle him dying, you know what I mean? I really kind of came unglued after he died. But the roles became reversed. Yeah. And I'll never forget going to see $6 million baby. $6 million.
Oh, $1 million baby.
$1 million
well,
baby.
inflation, right. So.
$1 million baby, right? And I'll never forget, I was always moving around the stage, and I wanted to do TV, and Lucien would always be, you need to work in a box. You need to work in a square. I'm going to put some square right around you, and you just don't go out of that box. It's just too much, too big. It's not for TV. It's fine for the club, but not for TV. You'll never get cast in anything. And always be, well, this is how I am. This is how I want. Well, then you'll never be on TV. I'll be like, okay, I'll work in the box. I'll figure out how to work in the box. And then when I saw Clint Eastwood, with the $1 million baby, and he put the little square to have her, to teach her, I was just like sobbing, because it just kicked up. And it just made me he certainly, and I'll never forget when I was, he said, listen, I want you to do crowd work. I want you to talk to the audience. I don't know what this, where'd you get that tie? Where are you from? Well, what do I say? Well, you got to figure the jokes out. You got to start from somewhere. But I said, but you're not going to laugh. And he said, I'm giving you permission to bomb. And it was like the kindest
huge thing. Listen, to comics out there, if you're listening, or people that want it, that is the key in stand-up to being a good comedian, is give yourself permission to bomb.
And no one does. Nope. Everyone's like, do your A material. We got to get bodies in the seats. Do your A material. I'm like, well, I've got a little joke. A material. You want to work here. So they don't do that anymore.
No.
Or how many TikTok followers have you got? Comedy is just changing.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been doing stand-up?
March 30th will be 32 years.
Okay.
From the day I started, from open mics, and I was a secretary. I was a word processor secretary. And I remember when I got my first development deal, I brought it into the office. I'm like, yeah, CBS is interested in me. Is this? And they were like, well, let's look at the contract. It was just, it was a real big deal. But I always wanted to get my secretaries, I always wanted to make them laugh, because I came from, working class roots and artistic roots, and those were the people. Those were like my people. That they worked hard. They, to me, were the salt of the earth. They were New York, or Philadelphia or Chicago, but those were the people that I wanted after a rough day at the office to just be able to laugh. So I would make fun of bosses. I would make fun of the office supply people. I would make fun of the FedEx people. And,
But that's so relatable, because everybody has a job.
Everyone has a job.
Everybody, I don't care who you are, you have a job.
And I wasn't like a talking head. I was more like theatrical. And I remember the first time, I always wanted to be a talking head. I was always studying comedy and comedians. And I remember I had such an awful day at the office. I was talked down to by Mr. Plotkin. I remember I was working at Wall Street.
Fucking
Plotkin.
Mr.
Mr.
Plotkin.
Plotkin. And I remember my first day at the office, temping. He goes, "This means hold my calls. This means take a message."
Ew.
And then he stares at me, and I'm like, "What a pretentious son of a bitch." And he said, "Did you hear that?" And I'm trying, this is my first day on the temp job, and I'm like, "Yes, this means hold your calls, and this means take a message." And he's like, "Yeah." And and there was a million things I had to do, and the phone would ring, and he'd go like that, and I'd be trying to take the message or this or whole, and I was busy. And
what's this, baseball?
Yeah.
What is he, a third base coach?
Yeah. And I came in, and after being so kind of talked down to, I was doing open mic at,
Right.
New York Comedy Club, and we're getting our money. It's like a crack deal. We're giving them like $5-6 to get a drink and sit there. And there's 36 comedians all waiting to go on, all looking at their notebook. And I was just incensed. And instead of like doing set up punch, I just was like, I worked for this guy, and he was like, "This means hold my calls, this means take a message." I'm just trying to get the calls and take the message and get them sandwiches and fax this and Xerox this and then get back and then get them lunch and set up the meetings. And I just said to him, I said, "Mr. Plotkin, this means I won't be coming in tomorrow." Just walked out. I just left everything, computer on, and walked out. And everybody looked up, and it was
Eruption.
It was eruption, and I realized, and it was the comedians, and I realized it's emotion behind.
It's the rawness of what we talk about that resonates with people, because when you peel those layers on stage and you just let it out, it's this vulnerability that everyone can relate to.
Right.
And we connect because we're all vulnerable.
Right.
We're all sad pieces of shit.
And we can't just leave our job and go, we can't just leave our job and go, "This means I won't be coming in tomorrow."
No.
But I could do this on stage.
Yeah, but this is that inside voice. We are everybody's inside voice.
Right.
With frustration. When I go on stage, I rant, I roast, I talk shit about certain subjects or myself and getting older or whatever, whatever it is. And I'm ranting, but it's coming from this raw emotional state, and to the point where people are like doubling over crying because they're laughing, crying, because they're connecting with it. And it's not so much the same identical mirrored experience, it's the emotional journey through that experience that they can resonate with. And that's the key. So when you did that, you're like, "What was that? That was cool," because you connected. And we all know, you can make a bunch of idiot comics that are staring at their notebooks die laughing. You got something.
Yeah, and they were like my best little critical audience. So every time my challenge was get 5 or 6 comics to look up from their notebook. Just do what you got to do to get them to look up from their notebook, And women were always would play it safe, and I just would watch a lot of women comedians and male comedians and study George Carlin like I was, taking a test, an essay on him, and just go for the jugular. Go for the jugular. And a lot of times women, they play it safe. It's like, no, fall on your ass. I mean, I remember one time I was doing a set, and I had a temporary tooth, and I'm doing my set, and my tooth comes falling out. And this black woman was like, "Mercy, child, I lost her tooth." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just lost my tooth." And I'm like, "Well, I said, "I just as well go into the homeless bit." And I was like, "Ladies and gentlemen," and they were like, it was like, you just don't hold anything back. And it's like with Lucy, I always was inspired by her. She always made a fool of herself, but you always loved her because she made 100% commitment. She wasn't even that funny. She wasn't considered funny.
She's not a comedian. Yeah. She was just her being in the moment. She could walk into a room and it's already hilarious.
Right.
Just her entering a room. Right. And there's certain comedians that I've seen over the years that have that.
Right.
And there's some that really got to work to get that connection.
Right.
And when your tooth fell out,
it went flying out.
Yeah.
Went flying out.
It attacked people in the audience. There was a lawsuit.
Luckily, it was the end of the stage. I was able to pick it up. This is really expensive.
But it's like, that's the rawness and that honesty that resonates with people, because it doesn't matter what your experience is. It's the honesty that people connect with. That's why I tell people.
And the woman was honest right back. So it's like I wasn't alone. Like comedy is, it's like you're in union.
Yeah.
You're in union with the audience when you're that connected. Because she was right with me. But she said, "Lord have mercy, child have lost a tooth." I mean, they were
because they were in the moment with you, because you took them there.
Yeah.
You were able to go on that stage and just be who you were, and they were with you. And then when shit went crazy, they were there with you, and they were there to pick you up because you already connected with them. I'm trying to remember. I fell off a stage once in Long Island.
Oh God. Sober.
Oh yeah, I don't drink. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm a straight edge. That's the iron is my addiction. Like I have to lift weights, and it just feels good. I feel better. I feel empowered. I can take on the world when I can lift heavy.
Right.
So I'm on stage, and I used to wear like girl clothes on stage and heels, like dress nice, because I was working with Mooney all those years. And then I realized after a while, it's kind of taken away from things I'm saying, because some people can't, because we're female comics, we're viewed differently anyway.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stand-up or being a woman, and if you're somewhat attractive and not a fat piece of shit, then it's honest. I'm being honest.
I know.
And they judge you harsher if you're put together and look nice versus when you're just sloppy. So what I found is that people would close off, especially women, and that really bothered me. And so, and then I also was at the time I had a day job as a personal trainer, so I wouldn't get done training clients till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So Al Martin and then would usually give me the late spots. I'd close, or I'd do late, the late shows, or I'd close the late shows just so I'd have time to get home and eat something and then go to the club. And Al's like, you're my closer anyway. Just, after, and then Caroline's was so late, because we were Paul Mooney. It was a late show.
Right.
And so I'd have to leave the gym and go straight to the club because I'd have a spot. So I'd have my gym bag. Sometimes I'd have chalk on me. And it just kind of became part of my persona because I do lift and I do talk about it. So I'm like, you know what? I don't have to get dressed up. I mean, I still beat the face, bitch. Okay, I beat the face like Tina, honey. I continue to beat this face, honey. But I still clean. But I wear my workout clothes and my Chuck Taylors because you've seen me. I fly all over the stage. I fall on the stage. I crawl around. I dive on a mic stand. I'm doing stuff, and I don't want to fuck up my. And if you're in heels, cut to back that I was doing a gig with Christopher Davis and George Gallo and those guys in Long Island, and they had the stage, and I was walking and I turned, my heel clipped the side of the stage, I went flying, and it was the funniest thing on the fuck. I think I almost tinkled myself, and everybody's screaming and laughing. First I went, oh, and I'm dying in hysterics because I went flying off the stage. Right. like nope, not wearing heels anymore. Fuck that. Yeah. Because I'm not to be trusted. Because I'm like the Kool-Aid man. Yeah. And I walk in a room, it's like, oh yeah, and the walls fall down and everything. So I understand your tooth issue. That was my share.
Well, I started wearing like an army jacket, but I wanted to look feminine, so I wore an army jacket or a short tuxedo jacket, and then I had like combat boots, fishnets, and then a short skirt. So I wanted to look like kind of punky and English.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, and then I just started to wear jackets, and I would always tell when I would teach comedy, I would always tell women, wear jackets. It just denotes, it kind of commands respect when you're nervous. You just get looked at differently. And then as I got more comfortable being a comedian, I started to dress more and more feminine. And then I had so much fun dressing very ladylike and nothing very ladylike coming out of my mouth.
No.
But I just thought of Joan Rivers, and Joan Rivers would be like, I always, I wear a dress because I never know who I'm gonna, I never know who's gonna be in the audience. And then I think of another comedian that I said, you always dress really sexy. Don't you get nervous that women look at you and think, well, who's that? And she's like, you know what? I don't care, because if no one laughs at my jokes, they got something nice to look at. And I'll never forget when she said that. So yesterday, I looked like, I did two shows yesterday. 3 shows. And Friday, I looked like I was rushing to get to the train. I looked like I came from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, you know, with the corduroys and the funky polyester shirt and the funky thing. And then the next day I wore a Diane von Furstenberg wrap dress. I'm like, screw it, you know?
Yeah.
And had a good time. It's the level of, I think as women get more and more confident, they can unfold into whatever makes them the most comfortable.
Well, and that goes with your...
And that's your style, that's your look.
And it just goes with, years of experience in comedy. You're 32 years in, I'm 28. So, you have over 30,000 hours of experience, 10,000 to be an expert, and I'm coming up on 30,000. So it's like, those I always tell people, like when I've taught or helped people with their comedy, I go, look at your comedy career as a person, as a child, like you gave birth to, because you did, you kind of gave birth to this persona. So if you're like 2 or 3 years in, it's a 2 or 3 year old kid. What are they going to talk about? They know a few words. They're barely standing up, and they're getting their bearings about themselves, and they'll grab a toy and walk over and show you, and that's their thing, And then you get to be 5, 6, 7. You're like, I don't want to play baby toys anymore. That's baby stuff. I'm a big girl now. And then, so then that's the growing pains, the 5, 6, 7 year mark. And then you hit 10, 11, 12, you become like that prepubescent teenager who's starting to rebel, kind of knows what direction she is. She's kind of like starting to figure out who she's starting to be or what direction she wants to go. Like you really get into music or television or whatever your thing is, you really develop. So you kind of rebel a little bit, and then you start, that's basically your voice taking effect after those 10 years. You develop your voice, and then you start writing for that voice from 10 to 20. In the first 10 years, usually you scrap or you'll rewrite and create it in your new voice or your older, more mature voice. And then when you hit 20 years old, you're kind of freestyling, but then when you hit 25 and 30, everything you say is that voice. You don't even have to think about it anymore. So it's the same thing with the way you dress, because it's all that growing. Kids, we don't wear Diane von Furstenberg wrap dresses at 2 years old, unless you're Kim Kardashian's kid.
No, but I would look like I came from The Office at times. But I remember having a bad set and wearing brown, and I never wore brown again. That was it.
That
was the end of that.
Yeah.
No more brown. And I've never worn brown again on stage. I was just very superstitious, but I did know the more, and whatever like if I was crazy and talking about my hippie parents, I'd have the wild hair and I'd have like the tie-dye thing, but I was always experimenting with fashion, always trying different things, always, always just playing around, because I always liked the tomboy, like just casual, but I always liked, if I was going to be casual, always to look feminine, because I always thought, I just want to represent, I thought, I'm representing women. I'm not only representing myself as a comedian, I'm also representing a woman's point of view. And I didn't want to just be a slob. I sometimes get angry when women come up and they got a belly shirt on, their belly's hanging out, and I'm like, really?
Like, wrong definition for belly shirt, honey.
Yeah. But they're like, this is how I feel really good about myself.
I am body positive. Well, I'm positive your body is not positive in that outfit, honey.
Right.
Girl, dress for the body you have, not the body you wish you had.
Right. And then you just draw attention. There's not going to be one guy or girl thinking, she could, a couple pounds wouldn't kill her. But you don't say it, but you think like, what are you doing? Shouldn't you wear Spanx? Shouldn't you have a girdle on? You could still wear a funky, sexy looking outfit that you have to have your stomach hanging out.
Dress for the body
and then
you
I
have.
feel like a mom. Then I feel like I'm turning into a mom,
Yeah, well, you kind of are, because we've been through it.
Yeah, it just
we
doesn't...
experienced all that back, and like I used to dress...
It's not making her comedy better.
No.
I remember what George Carlin said, if I really wanted their attention and I was working on new material, I'd always wear black. Because George was like, if you wear black, they just focus on the words. And I was like, that works.
It's true, because it narrows down the color scheme to your face.
Right.
And so you're focusing on their expressions, your eyes, your your mouth, how you're talking, as opposed to looking at what's going on all this.
Right. And if you're too flowery or flowy or lacy,
it's distracting.
It's so distracting. And you can still be attractive looking and just have the focus on just wear nice black, look sleek and cat-like, just
but
do your thing.
I also tell people too, like, what do you feel, not comfortable, what do you feel the most confident
Yes,
in?
yes.
Inside, not confident you looked hot and sexy, but what makes you feel confident and powerful?
Right.
What do you put on that makes you go on stage and go, I can do anything.
Right.
And for me, it's black. Because
I like a suit. I like a suit.
Because it distracts from my figure.
Yeah.
But it also helps people listen to the words.
Right.
And like Carlin, I never heard Carlin say that, but it makes perfect sense because I always thought, you know what? Just dress in black. They can focus on what's happening.
Look at some of his
Dress
specials
down,
and see how many times he wears black.
He always wears black, always.
Yeah, because that's what he writes.
But black also looks professional.
It does.
And it's like, that's why a lot of stores, like I'll use this as an example, Sephora. Because I put the whore in Sephora. And they all wear black. Because it looks clean, it's professional, and it doesn't matter what the fabric is. It always looks like it's part of the uniform.
It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. You could look.
Everybody looks great in black.
Yeah, slims you down, and if you are slim, you look even slimmer. And if you're big,
clean. It's a clean slate.
Yeah, and the focus is the face.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they sell, face.
Right.
So, we'll be right back. But it's so true, though. It's You do a lot of cruise ships.
I took a break. I'm taking a break.
You're taking a break?
And that is brutal because there I am, a northern comedian, working for basically southern audiences.
Yeah.
So, and then you're a woman. So I have to be, you've got, for women, I don't care, you've got to work twice as hard and be twice as funny to get half the laughs that guys get. But when you get it, they give it up for you. I don't want to hear, it's gotten better, it's gotten more equal. No, it really hasn't.
No.
The critiques and everything's gone underground. It's been quiet. It's been quieted. It's like we're always censored what we say. We're still thinking it, but we're just censored what we say. But I go on these ships, and it's like if I can, and I'll just say, I know you think, this is uppity northern bitch thing she gonna say, we don't know already. And if I do that, they start laughing. I'm like, they're laughing because I know that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but don't worry, when you're in New York, we think, you fuck your sister, I mean, we think, we're arrogant too. We think you're stupid. We think you're stupid. We think you didn't get over the Civil War. So I always get my little dig in after I say, I know what you think about me, but don't worry, we think the same thing about you,
Remember Brett Butler?
Yeah, well, yeah.
She had one of my favorite lines, and she said, because she's from the South, so she moves to New York, and she goes, and then the people always talk to her like she was retarded. Like, you from where? I wouldn't want to come from there because people sound so stupid when they talk.
Right.
And it would just kill. She wouldn't even have to set it up.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great, because that shit works. Because it connect, but that's how you connect to them. That you hear them, you see them, and you're like, you're one of them. Like, I know what you're thinking. What this northerner gonna say?
Yeah, what she gonna say?
You think you're uppity?
Yeah, I'll be with a high red and wearing all black and think she's all that.
You from New York City? You got all the fashions and stuff. Fuck you.
But I've got jokes on body positivity. I've got jokes on how I said. And then I'll just say, in the South, you give a woman a compliment. You find a woman pretty, what do you say? You look very nice, ma'am. I'm like, New York, my friend was like, you look good. You look like a dancer if she was out of shape. I'm like, and that's a compliment to us.
And I'm like, really? I look hot?
You look hot. Yeah, you look, what do you mean out of shape? Well, come on, you don't got a six-pack. I mean, you look, I said you look like a dancer. But now I got to explain myself? You look good, and it just goes on. But that's it. You're laughing because it's New York.
It's so true.
Yeah, but you look, man, you look cuter than a spotted puppy under a circus tent, And
they have the best metaphors for compliments.
Really do. But they do give you a compliment. They're like, yes, well, don't you clean up nice?
Yeah.
You don't hear that in New York.
You look as shiny as a drop of dew on a daisy leaf.
On a daisy, yeah. Yeah, I declare. But New Yorkers not so. But New Yorkers will just give you a look if you look. They just say everything with their face, like. And you just know you look good.
Yep.
And then if other women look at you, you definitely look good.
Yeah. When women check you out, and when women give me this look, I know I look good.
And if I get this look.
Yeah, because she wasn't brave enough to be that. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Because women hate women more than men hate women, because men have penises and women have vaginas. And as long as that man has a penis and that woman has a vagina, he still thinks he has a shot at fucking it.
Yeah.
So men will be a little nicer to women than women will.
Women are much more it's like they did a study, and they found out when a woman has to go for an interview and it's interviewing with a male boss, she'll undo and just, you know, be a little bit more flirtatious.
She'll be like, little hair toss, little blinks.
I'd love to, you know, secure a future with this company. I just see myself growing with the firm as part of the team.
Yeah.
And if it's a woman, it's a woman interview.
Oh, honey, I'm in a fucking hazmat suit.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, I'd like to secure a future with this company. I think I could help build things up, and I just think there's a great room for growth. Mm-hmm.
And I like that it empowers strong women.
It empowers strong women, which I'm all for. 90% are lesbians. Great. I was thinking of crossing over.
Yeah,
you know?
More dick for me.
More dick for me. Yeah. Okay.
I'll suck all the cock so you won't have to.
Right.
Is that all right? All right. Am I hired?
And then they're like, well, we don't want to. Like, well, fine with me.
Well, good. Send it my way, bitch. Oh my God. So I love talking shop because I love comedy more than anything now than I did when I started, which is crazy. But like, I always like, you know, we always have those gigs where it's just like mind blowing, where you just kill and it's like, oh my God, I am the greatest of all time. And then there's those hell gigs. What is one of the worst experiences besides your tooth flying out have you had? Because that's actually funny. That's not like a hell gig, like where it was just
Danger fields.
And that's why it's gone.
I had
Vanessa burned it down.
I was on stage, and they collectively decided one side of the room completely was heckling me, and I mean like 100 people. Wow, 100, and then the other side was like with me.
Right.
And Chario, all of them. The wait staff should have said, you know,
calm down.
But they were all watching, like getting some perverse pleasure watching. And I was trying to hold my own, and you feel this like flop sweat. And flop sweat isn't like regular sweat, like it's this cold sweat.
Yep.
And you're feeling you're trying to act supremely confident. And you're like, you're coming up with jokes so fast that you can, you know, just trying to quiet them down. And Artie Fuqua was running late. So I was kept up on that stage for
He still is, by the way.
Yes. I was up on that stage for 45 minutes.
Oh, he was that
minutes.
late?
Yeah. And I'll never forget, I got off stage and I was like, Chario, why didn't you like say something to them? He goes, well, you seem that you handled yourself just fine. And I'm like, and I remember thinking that wait staff should have looked out for me.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They thought, and I knew that because they were all in the corner, like just watching. And right afterwards, I was all messed up, so I wasn't drinking. So of course, food. So I order like 2 hamburgers. One, I just eat one after the next. Just 2 hamburgers. And I thought, God, how did I survive that?
But you know what though? I'm glad they didn't intervene, because it made a part, like that's like a battle scar.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's a stripe on your fucking jacket.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you don't, like these comics today.
I don't know who could do it. Like,
nobody, no.
A few could.
If you're under
45,
yeah.
I was,
when
he showed up, I was like, thank you very much. You guys have been awesome. Thank you. You, not so much. You, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
On a different.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, I don't know any, I mean, I'm sure there are, but I feel bad. It's not that I don't know any, I think I more feel empathy for these comics that are under 15 years in the game, because they've kind of grown up with social media and easy stuff and trigger words and safe spaces. So they've never had a chance, like Gen X and up, like we've been beaten down, like we fall down, skin our knee. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. So if any of them tried to go through that, they would fold instantly, because they don't know how to handle strife. And you and I and our generation of comedy and up, we've been through the hell gigs, you know, and I always tell people, like, comics like us that aren't a household name but still do it for a living, we're the essential workers of comedy.
Right.
You know, we keep these comedy arteries open in this country with these shitty comedy clubs.
Right.
I was in just outside of Harrisburg last night in Grantville, Pennsylvania. It was a comedy club that's in a hotel. And they're renovating the hotel, and they're actually going to probably build an actual comedy club in the hotel now because it's doing so well. Mm-hmm. And last night was their biggest ticket sales yet. And I was like, I'm glad I was a part of that. And they were a phenomenal audience, but this is bumfuck nowhere.
Right.
Do you think that Cat Williams or Dave Chappelle or Amy Schumer or any of them bitches would go to a Holiday Inn in Grantsville, Pennsylvania that seats 200, 300 people as a, you know, in the middle of fucking nowhere in a banquet hall? No, they don't. They don't do these small rooms on these off-beaten paths. They play the big cities, the theaters, the stadiums, the big comedy clubs, because they don't have to play those, because they know with their name, those people will drive an hour or 2 hours to go see them. Right. So these little clubs in bumfuck nowhere, we keep them open.
Right.
And it's like, you know, all this shit. We've had our hell gigs in those places. Like it's rough driving there. It's, you know, hotel or whatever, all the crap you got to go through, dealing with the bookers and the club owners, and they're fucking your money up, and the audience being drunk, and there's no security, and blah blah blah. I don't know any one of those new kids that could handle that because they've been spoiled, and good for them. But you know what? I'm glad that we went through this.
Yeah.
Because I can handle any fucking room I walk in.
You learn, like, that can't be taken, nothing can be, everything I've learned as a comedian. I mean, what made me go into it is when I got on stage for the first time, and I was an actress.
Right.
I studied Shakespeare, I studied iambic pentameter, I got scholarships at Lee Strasberg and all these really good school, you know, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a cop. Want to play a cop on a series, and
you'd have been great.
Yeah, no, I still want to play a cop on a series.
We should do our own version.
We got a floater on 33rd Street. I'll check it out. Okay.
We should do Lord and Order Child. I just thought of that. I'm hilarious. Anybody listening? No. Okay, great.
But I was on stage and I thought, all you gotta do is write, and you don't have to rely on anybody. And if you can just write, you can maybe make a living doing this and not depend on anybody except your writing and your wit. You gotta live by your wit, you gotta work really hard, but you can do it. And it was just like, it was this freedom I felt. And I was like,
big time freedom.
Yeah. But it's a lot of work that goes into being a comedian. It's like we get paid to travel. You know, there's an expression, get paid to travel.
Yeah, I get paid to travel and talk shit to people.
Right.
You know, and do you have a problem with any of the places you play that they try to censor you or tell you things you can't talk about because, you know, they have sensitivities or they don't want to offend people? Do you ever get those?
A lot. I've had to change a lot of my jokes, and it's gotten me very upset. And, you know, I remember doing a show and I said, you know what, I'm offended by people that are easily offended. Because what you're telling me is I can't have, what you're doing is you're cherry picking what you're going to get offended at, and you're not listening to the context in what I'm saying, which means that you're highly kind of, I guess, uneducated, and you don't understand nuance and cynicism and wry and humor. And if you're so offended, how is my joke going to impact and ruin your life?
Yeah.
Just explain that to me. I need to know. Explain why you get offended.
Yeah, and why is it your offenses overtake everybody else's?
Right.
What makes you special? That I'm triggered, I don't like that. Then get the fuck that, don't listen to it.
It used to be people would. They'd be like, you know what? She's not my cup of tea. Let's go do something else. They wouldn't tweet about you, call the booker, call the club, say I want her out. Now they
or
want
do a
your
TikTok
blood.
video of ranting.
Now it's like they want your blood, and it's like and I feel like saying, I think I said, I once was on stage and I said, what is my crime here? To just make a bunch of you laugh? That's all I'm trying to do. Just make you laugh.
Yeah, I tell people.
Do you have a sense of humor?
No.
And half of them don't have a sense of humor.
No, because
and I sometimes think people, quite honestly, are jealous of the comedians that are very, very witty and try and shut them down because it makes them feel powerful. I don't know. This cancel culture, I
Yep.
feel like it's all media controlled. No one even understands it. But it's like college students have to censor themselves. College students used to be self-centered. Now they're self-censored. You know, and that college was made to debate, to talk about different religions, talk about weight, talk about men and women, talk about politics.
But it was also about coexisting with those differences. Now we can't even coexist because if you're different, it's like we've gone so fucking backwards. And colleges now have safe spaces.
Right, I know.
So if someone feels triggered, there's a room that they could go and good, lock them in the room and don't let them out because they obviously can't handle Earth.
The safe space should be when you realize that you owe $100,000 for your education. You need a safe space from those banks coming after you.
It's called prison.
But yeah, you should feel fearless. In your 20s, fearless.
But also, too, it's like this whole like censoring
this
shit.
Victim thing,
too. It's all narcissism because social media has created our narcissism to be out of control. Whether you're the narcissistic victim, everything always bad happens to me, or you're the narcissistic bully and you stomp everybody.
Right.
For me, when people tell me, Christy, you've got to tone it down, which I've been told by venues, hey, last night someone got offended. I said, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
This is my show.
Yeah.
And if you don't can handle it, then you should not come outside.
No one is forcing you to come to a comedy show.
And my thing, I don't care what you think of me, and you shouldn't care what I think. It's funny. Life is hard. It's hard enough as it is to exist in this world. Why are you making it harder? And talking about and making fun of shit and processing it while you're laughing makes stress and angst and tragedy and trauma a lot easier to deal with.
People get offended by the truth. I was talking to a college student. She said they banned George Orwell's 1984. And I'm like, why? Like, why are you banning like futuristic, dystopian, horrible things? We're not being spared. It's like, do you think that if you don't share the knowledge of the future and what can happen, that you're going to prevent people from suffering,
or even
children from suffering?
Excuse me. Even artistic expression.
Yeah.
See, I'm allergic to cancel culture.
Right.
But like even to write a book like 1984, I read that in high school, and I was like, oh my God.
I read it in 1984, and that's when I started to get afraid.
Yeah.
I've been afraid since 1984. Yeah.
Well, think of
and now it's like 1984 now.
Yeah. Well, it was too far ahead of its time, and the thing, it's like it's 40 years ahead of its time. And look at War of the Worlds back in the day when people listened to radio, and it was just a made-up show, and people thought it was a real newscast because that's how well it was written.
Right.
So my thing is that you want to ban shit or change things because it's just to make themselves feel better about themselves. It really is. It's a soapbox, and they're trying to stuff their receipts underneath it so you can't see them. Like these motherfuckers with these triggering words and banning books and shit. It's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like, it makes me so angry.
So hard for people to have First Amendment rights.
Yeah,
that
and now
you could be a narcissist, a racist, an anti-Semite. You could have a voice, but then you could be progressive and pro this and pro that and have a voice, but you would get heard.
Yeah.
And all of that is ended. And if you have one opinion that maybe you agree with something that a conservative or Republican said, then you become like a fascist. And if you agree with something that a liberal said, no, I think there should be free school lunches for all the kids. Yeah, you liberal,
Yeah, and also too, it's like, I just lost the thought. The cancel, the words. I just had something on. Oh, this whole, changing shit like that, banning things. It's really about themselves. It's part of that narcissism. Like this whole thing about homeless. You can't call them homeless. You have to call them unhoused.
But no one's getting them home.
Yeah, I go, so do you sleep better at night because you changed the word? Do you feel better about yourself, you fucking scumbag?
And food insecure. It sounds like an issue. It sounds like, I get too close to the carrots and I get unsure of myself. Hungry. They're starving, hungry people.
Because people don't want to handle reality. They're so non-confrontational.
But reality is still going on.
Yeah.
It's like there's still poor people, starving people, homeless people. They don't go away because you're like, I don't want to talk about it.
I call them unhoused now, so I'm better than you. Okay.
With people without houses.
I can't.
And that's their lifestyle choice. No, they might, would you hire somebody that hasn't taken a shower in 3 weeks and smells like shit and is talking to himself? And he might have started off okay, Like he got maybe he drank too much, maybe the wife kicked him out, maybe he was an intelligent guy, maybe he had like mental issues. He might have started out all right if you gave him some opportunities.
Well, then that's our healthcare system, which goes into a whole nother podcast.
And he didn't choose to be like that.
But I just hate the fact that all comedians are now vilified for all their bullshit and crap and their I can't. Like, go after the real sources. Leave us alone.
Yeah, go. It's like I say, okay, you're finding me offensive. Meanwhile, you're tweeting about me on your iPhone that's made by somebody that gets mistreated in Shenzhou in the factory.
Yep.
And at 24, they can't even use their fingers because they have to put the same thing. How come you don't find that offensive?
Because it's not convenient.
Yeah, how come that's not offensive to you?
And on that note, I always like to wrap up the show. See, it goes quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I always wrap up the show with 2 funny questions. And I don't know if you read it in the email or not, but it's okay. But it'll be funnier.
I forgot.
That's okay. It'll be funnier off the cuff.
All right.
The first question is there a bit a comic has done that made you go, God damn it, that's brilliant. I wish I had written that first.
Yeah.
I have a ton of them, so.
Yeah, I've got, one I never forgot, I heard.
Okay. What is it?
There was this guy comedian, and he was like, my wife and I are getting ready to have a baby, and she was saying to me, she's like, what do you want to name the child? And he goes, I don't know, I was thinking of Dream Crusher. So he's laugh.
That's cute. Do you remember who it was?
No.
Oh, that figures.
No, but it was
he doesn't even
National
remember.
Comedy Festival. I remember thinking,
oh, that's hilarious.
Dream Crusher. I just thought that was very funny.
And the next one is, I used to open for Paul Mooney for many years, and he would always wrap up his set with street jokes. But he would Mooney-ize them and just murder the place. Like, it was like the best closer on the planet. Do you
remember a Mooney-izer joke bit?
Oh, I know hours of Paul Mooney material. Yeah, I used to go up at the Comedy Store late night, like after the show was over. They'd be like, Christy, go up and do Mooney. So I'd go up and get my little champagne bottle with a straw, and I would sit there and I would do a half hour of Mooney for the guys, for the comics and the staff. Like, we just talk shit when Mooney be, and he's like, and he goes, homie, I heard you were doing me at the Comedy Store last night and killing it. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I did. I go, how'd you find out so fast? Oh, I have jungle ears. I hear everything, And so do you have a go-to street joke that always makes you laugh, or you use when people ask you for stupid jokes?
I'm trying to think go-to street joke. I'm trying to think of something like, I know I have them. I have a joke that I can't do anymore because people get offended.
Do that one then.
I remember
this is a Hollingshead joke.
Yeah, I said my mom really liked black guys, and in the 70s we moved to Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. It was a real bad neighborhood, but she loved the black guys. So every time I came home from school, I never knew if the apartment was being robbed or my mom had a new boyfriend.
Good night. That's our show. It's really funny. I liked it.
Wanda Sykes says, you got to do that joke. I'm like, you could do that joke. I can't do that joke anymore. And if I probably did an all-black room, they'd probably be,
You would destroy. No, you would destroy. Yeah. Trust me, I do black rooms a lot still. And I'm insane. Yeah. So, but you're trust me, you can, because you're an amazing talent. So, is there, I want you to tell everybody at Old School, New School Comedy Land where they can find you on the socials, and if you have anything coming up you want to plug.
I've got something, oh God, it's in my phone. Let me.
Is it on your website or your social?
It's going to be on my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, definitely Facebook. And then TikTok, I got to get a little bit better at my TikTok videos, Instagram, and Twitter. And I will be posting in a couple weeks. I'll be in New Jersey, and I'll be doing 2 nights there, and we'll be putting up little flyers. It's called Married, Single, and a Baby, and it's the 3 of us from 3 different points of view of being married, being single, and having kids late in life. And it's Joe Bubblewitz, myself, and Chris Monty, who's hysterical.
Yeah, he's really funny.
And that's it. And I'm basically.
So what's your Instagram handle?
It's Vanessa Hollingshead. It's like,
just look up Vanessa Hollingshead.
It's like Vanessa I think it's Vanessa. This is how much I'm bad. I had a social media person. Facebook, Vanessa Hollingshead. Instagram, I think it's Vanessa Hollingshead 1660 or Vanessa Comic 1660. Just you're gonna see my face. You'll find me, and then TikTok, and then X, and I'm on all the sites.
Fantastic. And
I'm nowhere near like Christy, where she set this whole thing up, taught herself how to do I taught myself how not to cry during COVID, not to have a nervous breakdown during COVID.
Oh no, I didn't have time for that bullshit. And well, that's been it's been another edition of Old Skool New SKool Comedy Podcast. You can follow us also on Instagram at Old Skool New SKool Comedy, spelled with a K. And you can follow me as well at Christy Miller Comedy. If you love our show, please like, subscribe, and share our show. And if you hated me, I've been Kathy Griffin. Good night.